Now, as you might have seen my time-lapse video with the MetallicGear Neo Micro Silver V2, it's quite an interesting case, and I even managed to place a custom loop from EK with the FLT 120 D5 pump and EK magnitude water block. So guys, stay tuned because today we're going to go in details with this case, so MetallicGear Neo Micro Silver V2, and going to talk about some overview and definitely some tests and thermals. So stay tuned. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, MetallicGear Neo Micro Silver V2 is quite an interesting case, and not just because the size and compactness, if I can say it like this, but the design is really nice. I have no words about it. I really like the overall aluminum top, front. Well, basically it looks like metallic and everything. Then we have a really nice cable management options at the back, which kind of goes really nicely for the 8-pin EPS, because they manage something at the top, and you'll see from the close-ups later on. Now, when we're talking about standard specifications, you can place two 2.5-inch SSDs on the power supply shroud. It has just enough space to place them, and they can be nicely visible, or you could do whatever you wish, RGB, non-RGB, it doesn't matter. Then at the power supply shroud you can place power supply up to 250 millimeters, and you still have a hard drive cage for two 3.5-inch hard drives, which is quite interesting for the case of this size. Now let's talk about this is storage. Now let's talk about fans. You have possibility to place one fan at the back for 120 millimeter size, and two of them at front going as well 120 millimeters. On top, unfortunately, you don't have possibility to place anything, but it's because you have a completely different approach inside this case. Now, taking into consideration that you can place a 240 radiator, as you can see in my videos and the time-lapse video where I placed a full custom, well, not full custom loop, I didn't place the graphic card, but still you can place a nice radiator right here on the front, and pipes go directly to the processor. Cool thing, both sides of the power supply shroud are open. You can access and arrange cables literally perfectly without a single doubt, which is cool. Now, the overall shape is quite minimalistic, I would have to say that, but I have nothing against it because I love minimalism, that's for sure. But that's my personal opinion. You'll have yours when you check out the case, of course. On the front top side you have the power on button and the reset button, and here on the side you have two 3.5mm jacks, which one is for microphone and one is for your headset. You have a button for the RGB control, and you have two USBs 3.0. Now, going right beneath that you have an opening for your fans and the whole backside as well, which gives you enough space, well, gives the fans enough space for a nice airflow, because the fans are right here starting and 2.5 centimeters apart from that. Now, when you're placing that 240mm radiator on front, you don't need to remove any hard drive cage or anything, because the radiator sits, well, almost sits on the power supply shroud. So there you go, you don't have to lose your space for your hard drives, you don't have to remove any panels on the power supply shroud, you just place the AIO radiator on the hinges for the fans. The front side is also very easy removable. You just have to pop up the front panel, and there you go. You can here clearly see the ventilation, front ventilation mesh part, which is quite alright. and it does give enough air. Now, for this build, I didn't go with the stock fans. I placed two Skiron RGB and one at the back, just to give a bit of a momentum, let's say a look. And to access your hard drives, you do have to remove this panel, because you place your hard drives right here from the front, and this is how you actually access them. Now, turning it on, you can see it really does look nice and simple. Now, my advice to you guys, if you're going with this kind of case, you can see it has some sort of decoration on tempered glass, I would put it that way. And it would look really cool if you place an RGB LED strip, because then the lights make a really nice design of all of it. First of all, I placed EK Water Blocks 240 radiator and FLT 120, and the temperatures on the processor, I don't have to even mention those. But when I placed the Be Quiet Pure Rock 2 CPU air cooler, the temperature on the CPU was going from 72 to 80, depending on how hard the test and benchmarks were. So this is quite alright, I would say, because we're talking about 10700K and we're talking about 150 watts of TDP CPU cooler. When we're talking about the graphic card temperatures in full load and the maximum performance of the graphic card, it got 79 on average, 80, and I would say that is extremely alright, because testing this GPU on multiple cases, it actually showed the exact same temperature. So the difference between this case and a front open panel case with meshed front and stuff like that, it didn't have any differences whatsoever. So 79 to 80 degrees, it might touch 81, 82 depending on the load, but 79 and 80 degrees is quite safe for this kind of case. Checking out the backside of MetallicGear Neo Micro Silver V2, you can see that it has basically really nice arrangement for the cables. So the left side near the motherboard, checking from the back, has 3 Velcro ties, which you can arrange your cables, 24-pin RGB cables for your fans or PWM for your fans. And on top, above the motherboard, you have a small canal where you could reroute the 8-pin EPS, because behind the motherboard you don't have space for rearranging the cables in any sort of way. This also gives an opportunity for you guys that want to go with the air cooler, because the distance from the CPU to the tempered glass is 160 millimeters, and they sacrificed the back side, pushed the left side behind the motherboard a bit more, so you could rearrange the cables in a different way. The power supply shroud actually gives you even more space for cables if you decide to do so, and you can see that I used Cable Mod custom sleeved extenders, not cables directly from the power supply, but extenders, so I managed to reorganize all the cables nicely in the power supply shroud and on the left side. Now, the Be Quiet Pure Rock 2 is 155 millimeters, so it kind of fits nicely, and you can manage basically any other CPU cooler up to 160 millimeters. So the power supply is 250 millimeters of maximum, and the GPU can go up to 330 millimeters. If you're not going with anything on the front like radiator, you could really place an RTX 2080 Super Gaming Extra from MSI, just because it's 328, so it's like 2 millimeters of free space. But overall, I think this case really gives a nice impression with overall design. 2-side tempered glass, you can place 2 nice RGB fans, 3 nice actually, 3 120 millimeter fans. You can place an RGB LED strip at the bottom, getting a bit of a more effect to the visual concept, and giving you loads of 2.5 inch SSDs and 3.5 inch hard drives. Gives you enough space for your storage possibilities, which I would say it's more than enough. So overall, guys, I'm pretty satisfied with the case, first of all. Secondly, I would say that temperatures on the CPU depend, in this situation, depend on the cooler because if you place an AIO, I would say that this CPU would be around 60-65. And GPU is standard temperature, so that's basically it. I'm placing the links for the MetallicGear Neo Micro Silver V2, and of course if you want their RGB fans, Skiron the RGB 120mm fans, which look quite alright. I mean, without a doubt, they have really nice colors and you'll love them for sure if you like RGB or even a static color. It's really cool. So guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button if you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe for future content. Leave a comment if you like the case, what you think and stuff like that, and hope to see you in another one. Bye bye.